Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Phenomenology Club. I am Buttress, your wise, benevolent Italian American host, hailing to you from the forests of New Jerusalem. Press 1 if the resonant frequencies of my voice are playing in the room that you are currently sitting in. I too am sitting in a room, and the resonant frequencies of my voice are reinforcing themselves, creating reverberations inaudible to me, or perhaps they are audible to me, and I simply cannot perceive them. At least I feel like I cannot perceive them, but I am perceiving them. Can I get an amen? Press 1 for if I can get an amen. How's everybody doing out there in the big old world? As you might be able to see, observe, as y'all are always observing, as are all of us, I still have not set up my Phenomenology Club soundboard on my new computer. Apologies, but you're just gonna have to deal with it. We can't have the fun little intro and the fun little outro and the fun little delay on my voice at the moment because I haven't figured it out yet. Can I get an amen? I thought I did. Actually, all it will take is like reading an article. I don't know if any of you are Mac to PC users or understand any of this bullshit, but when I was on the Mac, there was no way to just easily take your system audio and do something like stream it elsewhere. But Windows, so I would have to download essentially like a virtual output to send my system audio to the virtual output and then send the virtual output audio to whatever program I'm using. And Windows has an entirely different setup as far as that is concerned. So I don't think I need a virtual output at all. I know I don't to like record my system audio, but last time I tried to do it in Ableton, there was an issue. So you know what? Fuck it. We're here for now. I'm busy. I'll figure it out by next time, okay? And if I don't, you can execute me. You can execute me publicly in the city square. Yay! Everybody's here. Let's go. Free 99. This specific struggle is very heard and felt, right? All we have to do probably is just read some fucking Reddit post that explains how Windows handles its system audio. But here we are, being lazy, being on YouTube instead. Who cares? I'll figure it out later. How's everyone doing? As the title says, winter is here. Press 1 if you are feeling winter right now. I have to say, I am really feeling winter right now. It's crazy out here. I live in the northeast of the United States of Triple K America. I live in a rural, woodsy area, and it has been snowing. It's been snowing like mad, bro. Like mad. Whole island massive. It's crazy. Like, I think it snowed about 5 times in the past week and a half. And for those of you who live in the same region of the U.S. as I do, this seems awfully strange. Maybe not strange, but it's unexpected because the last few years, I mean, it's been fucking warm as hell. I feel like I was wearing a t-shirt last January. Now we're having a proper winter. What's going on? Feels like something shifted. And we know that the weather shifting in any great capacity these days is likely bad news with a capital B. I don't know what this signals, but I don't like it. Are we afraid? Do we feel afraid? Press 1 if you feel afraid. Mishka, but it will be gone within the week here. Oh, are you sad about that? You look sad. It's chilly. All right, damn. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. How are we enjoying the winter, though? I have to say I'm enjoying it. It almost feels nostalgic. Like, growing up, this kind of winter feels like a winter from my childhood. I don't know if anyone can relate. Like, growing up, it snowed all the time. We had snow days constantly. And, not being able to drive for a day, like, parents having to stay home from work because they couldn't commute, all these things were very common in my childhood. So it has been weird to be without them for years and years. Now all of a sudden, I'm like snowed in. It's odd, and it is comforting in a way until I remember that we're in the midst of a climate catastrophe, and then I become afraid because I'm like, shit. I know that the weather isn't correcting itself. I mean, sure, it could be, though. I don't know. I'm not fucking God. But, it feels odd that it feels like things are normal. It feels like the calm before the storm. Next year, it's just gonna be like fucking volcanic eruptions in New Jersey or something. Shit. Y'all better say goodbye now. Prepare the suicide nitrogen pod. This is a thing that happened and is relevant to Phenomenology Club, as we often discuss the ethics of suicide. Did we discuss the nitrogen pod yet? Apparently, I think it's Sweden. Let me look it up. I believe it's in Sweden. They have developed a suicide chamber using nitrogen. Was it Sweden? Let's see. I just googled suicide chamber nitrogen and Google said help is available. Shut up, Google. God, I just want to know about the nitrogen pod. It's Switzerland. Okay. Oh, but nitrogen suicide pod in Switzerland. Hold on, let's see if this is a thing yet. I was actually just hanging out with my friend from Switzerland. Shout out Sean. And we talked a little bit about the suicide pod, and he made it sound like somebody might have entered the pod already. All the news I'm seeing about the suicide pod is actually from 2021, so I'm not sure if we've used it yet. I've been thinking about, hold on, sorry, I'm looking at this Wikipedia. Okay. It looks like nothing really has happened since 2021 for the suicide pod. It's been, I've been thinking a lot about suicide and the suicide pods, and, you know, I've been thinking about, like, climate catastrophe and also health problems. Like, I have always been staunchly anti-suicide from, like, the broadest sense, the most nebulous sense. But as I get older and observe all that's going around me, I have had the thought, like, you know what, if I'm suffering greatly and when I'm 60 years old and also, like, outdoors homeless as the climate is just, like, completely chaotic and, like, the weather is just, like, making even existing outside, like, horrific, as, like, I'm just dealing with the pain of, like, a UTI and full body inflammation as a senior citizen, perhaps suicide will be a welcome option, you know? I would not go in the nitrogen pod, however, because I will not support suicide as an industry. Absolutely not. And this is my main complaint when it comes to, like, assisted suicide programs, period. I'm not against the idea entirely of suicide, though I am, in a certain sense. I feel like, hypothetically, it's always better to try and stay around because there is always a chance things could look up. And also, statistically, you're just never going to get to experience being on the earth again. However, when the experience of great pain is so greatly clouding your experience of existing, then it is kind of like you're not even existing at all, you know? It's only been this past year that I've really had to experience, like, pain that I've never experienced in my life before. Like, I had vertigo for almost a month, and I had, like, it almost felt like a psychotic break from, like, the pain and mental agony and bodily discomfort. And I got a glimpse into, like, why I think somebody might end their life from discomfort. It makes sense, but at the same time, that happened, and here I am without vertigo. So, I don't know. I would say you should at least try to stick it out. But never go in the suicide pod, because I don't think what I'm opposed to is any sort of government creating an industry out of suicide. That's what bothers me, because that's when they're going to start diagnosing poor people, mentally ill people with, or offering these people suicide as therapy. Suicide, I think, should never be considered some sort of medical therapy or something that can be capitalized off of, but that's exactly what things like the nitrogen pod are going to become. Oh, you're miserable, you're mentally ill? Oh, look, for $5,000 you can enter the suicide chamber. or even a higher amount, because if you're so ready to die at that point, you might as well throw your entire fucking life savings at the thing. God, that's going to be horrible when suicide becomes a lucrative industry. If I'm not mistaken, it's already beginning in certain places. I mean, it is being offered by medical professionals, I've heard, in places like Belgium, Canada, and perhaps Switzerland, because Switzerland has this fucking 3D printed nitrogen pod. So everybody, please agree. Let's agree together. We will never step in the nitrogen pod. Please press 2 if you agree you will never go inside the nitrogen pod. If any of you need to end your life due to extreme suffering, promise me you'll drop into the Phenomenology Club Discord first, and we'll talk about it. Perhaps we can make some arrangements. Perhaps we can have our very own Dr. Death in Phenomenology Club. Dr. Death is the Kevorkian guy, right? The assisted suicide guy. I haven't read into that enough, so I'm not quite sure what was going on there, but if I'm not mistaken, he was also turning a profit. And I guess if you're risking your life to help cancer patients end their life, I guess it would make sense that you would charge people. Like if you decided to be some sort of Robin Hood for like terminally ill people who are just suffering greatly, you decided you wanted to help them end their lives, you are taking on a great risk. So I guess it does make sense to receive some kind of compensation. At the same time, I feel like if you were truly some sort of like soldier of virtue that cared about people suffering, you wouldn't charge anything. That would also help your case more, I think, in court. Because I think most people can be kind of sympathetic to the idea that, like, you want to help terminally ill people, you know? I don't know. Shit. All right, good. Everyone press 2. None of us are going into the nitrogen chamber. Good. Good. Anyway. Not the thing to think about in the dead of winter. Do y'all get depressed in winter? I feel like I usually do, but actually the snow and shit is kind of like helping in a way. Snow is just kind of making the experience of this year's winter a little more magical. It's giving Christmas. Can anyone relate? Snow, I think perhaps like what has made the past few years so bleak when it comes to winter, it's just fucking like odd. And it's like, you know, the weather is strange. It'll be really cold. Remember last year in the Northeast, we had those polar vortexes? Bizarre. And then it would be like warm a few days later. Weird. But this year, it seems more consistent, and the snow is quite nice. It's quite beautiful, and I feel like that's making the experience of this year's winter less bleak. Mishka says, the snow is nice until it turns yellow from dog piss. How many fucking dogs live around where you are that the snow is turning yellow? That's crazy. PK says, snow is helpful, but it's the weeks of clouds that get me. You don't like the clouds? I do love an overcast day, but it can become obnoxious. What gets me is the sun going down so early. It just kills me. Can anyone relate? It's horrible. Oh, especially if you're someone like me and you stay up all night. I often wake up between like 1 and 4 p.m. Waking up at 4 p.m. and then the sun going down an hour and a half later, horrible feeling. And I'm not even somebody who really is into the sun like that. But when you go without it for days at a time, it's quite depressing. Speaking of going without the sun for days at a time, I just rewatched. Well, I've been rewatching a lot of like 2006, 2007 era horror films, and I just rewatched 30 Days of Night starring Josh Hartnett. Has anybody seen it? Great film, great concept. I won't say any spoilers, but the idea is essentially that these vampires make their way to one of these Alaskan towns where there's no sunlight for 30 days. Which is so smart. I mean, if you're a vampire, where the hell else are you gonna go? That's a great fucking idea. Can I get an amen? And it's just, I love the way that they made the vampires. Very spooky, very scary. They kind of speak this language that has an air of like ancientness to it. It almost sounds like some shit you would hear like a Babylonian demon speaking or something. Very guttural. Reminds me of like, I don't know, it's like Aramaic on acid or something. Creepy, weird, Good film. And Josh Hartnett, such a good-looking man. Can I get an amen? They don't make him like that anymore. Damn. It's based on a comic book. But then I was watching the new season of True Detective, and again, won't say any spoilers, but it's a similar vibe to 30 Days of Night. Similar location, similar situation. Check it out. It stars Jodie Foster, our lesbian queen. Has anybody seen it? Press 1 if you've seen the new episode of True Detective. Actually, I believe that the second episode drops tonight. I've only seen the first season of True Detective, and I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was fucking hilarious. I can't believe that people take that show seriously. I'm sorry. Everybody talked about it like it was this like amazing show, and so serious and so like involved, and I just can't get over Matthew McConaughey. Like, he's fucking ridiculous. He just, the way he talks is like, I said that you know how like the bands like Creed and all those dad rock bands are like, hey, hey, like that's how they sing. I feel like Matthew McConaughey is like the personification of that style of music in most roles he plays. He's just like, hey, hey. That's him in True Detective and Reign of Fire. I mean, Reign of Fire is probably one of the best examples of the hey. That's him. Like, the butt rock Jarl. I call it Hyeah, like Hyeah. Yeah. You know. Yeah, he's like Hyeah the person. And I just can't take him seriously. Is there any role where he has not been like that? True Detective, actually, I thought was like extra ridiculous too. Because, you know, he's like this like down and out cop, detective, just yelling all over the place, smoking cigarettes, talking about how he's a no good. And his wife was, I don't fucking, are you a bad husband? Blah, blah, blah. Is he a husband? I don't know. He's single. I think he has a kid. I don't fucking know. I just thought it was ridiculous. And Woody Harrelson's kind of an asshole in that role, too. And I'm just like, what is up with these guys, right? But I did like the serial killing stuff. I thought it was kind of fun, which is really the point of the series. So it is worth watching, but it's hilarious. Actually, it being hilarious, I thought made it extra fun to watch. But I just thought it was funny that people take this fucking show so seriously. But anyway, enough about that. Should we talk about gym bros? This is something we were talking about yesterday. By the way, I'm just like still in this mode of like, I don't have a topic. I'm so sorry. I just don't have a topic right now. I've been like balls deep in figuring out my new computer setup. I have all this stuff I have to do for the album that I released in November that I should still be promoting, and I'm going to keep promoting. I have to put out a music video and merch and all this stuff. I'm just like so behind on Buttress. I just don't really have time to figure out a topic. I'm also really stupid this year. Press 1 if you can relate and you're also really stupid this year. Well, I guess we're still early into the year. I don't know, but I did just have COVID, so I'm still stupid. Forgive me. It's going to be a minute, I think, before we get some kind of topic. I'm just going to talk. Honestly, that's probably more fun anyway, right? I mean, that's what like Joe Rogan does, right? Except he does it with another person. I really should have somebody here with me to go back and forth with, and we could just talk about a variety of topics. But I'm fine talking to myself. It's all I've ever done on this show, and I think funneling through topics quickly is kind of a fun thing that people enjoy anyway. So let's continue. Let's talk about gym bros, because this is something that we talked about yesterday in the club, and actually it created some strong divisiveness. I want to know what you guys think. I especially want to know what Mishka would think, because Mishka, I think you would have some strong opinions here as my fellow heterosexual feminist. So basically, I believe strongly. Do I want to let people call in? I do. Do you want to call in? I don't have that all set up right now. I'll have to set that up next time. Sorry. So I believe strongly as a feminist that we have been brainwashed, my sisters and my brothers, into demonizing male athleticism. there is this attitude among women, and I've seen a lot of it recently on Twitter. And admittedly, I shouldn't be on Twitter, but I just find Twitter so fun, so addicting. I follow a lot of feminists, and I follow a lot of weird people, and women especially, and I just love to see the demented takes from all my fellow peers. A lot of people are still, this has been a talking point for a long time, and it still is. A lot of people demonize men who are like overly muscular, the male form that's like too muscular, too bulbous. And I understand, because a lot of bodybuilders are like very scary looking. A lot of bodybuilders, of course. But I've seen recently people like saying, some movie star, I don't know his fucking name, but he looks relatively normal. I think he's in that show Reacher or something. He's like a large, muscular man. I'm seeing women say, like, this is too much. This is disgusting. I like like women are saying they like dad bod and stuff. And dad bod has been like a very popular thing, it feels like, for years. And I just, as a very intelligent, very observant feminist, I feel like there is just something wrong where we live in a world where women are actively encouraged, it feels like, to not only seek out males with like, I don't want to call it unhealthy, but like, maybe aged bodies or something, because we're talking about dad bod right now. Like, we're supposed to like, well, I guess it's the issue isn't necessarily what we're supposed to seek, but like we actively deny the attractiveness of like an athletic male, a muscular male. It just feels like it defies nature, don't you think? It reminds me of all of the stereotypes for what constitutes an attractive female that are also born from patriarchy. You know, things that seem very unnatural, like being too wafy, being sickly, you know, like this was a big trend. Thankfully, we seem to be going more towards like healthy female bodies. But, you know, through various times in history, what men have found very attractive are things that seem, in my professional opinion, to defy God and defy nature. Can I get an amen? Or, you know, certain cultures, like in Japan, the women blacking their teeth, it almost looks like their teeth are decaying, which I think looks awesome. But it's just another example of something that's like thought to be attractive at a various time for like clearly some type of totally arbitrary reason. Sorry, that sentence didn't make sense. When I talk too fast, I use the wrong words. I'm sorry, but you get what I'm saying. Like, throughout history, there's all these different times where we celebrate and find certain things attractive that are clearly like sort of unhealthy, you know. Probably, you know, the 90s, like everybody, all the women were encouraged to be like supermodel fucking heroin chic. It's called heroin chic. Like that should just give you an indication of how unhealthy this societal standard is for women's bodies. So anyway, I believe that the dad bod is just another manifestation of this. And not just the dad bod, but demonizing men who are muscular. It just doesn't even seem to make sense. I mean, is muscularity not a sign of vitality and of strength? And I'm not talking about like scary ass bodybuilders again, because in my opinion, that is actually very unhealthy looking. You know, some guy who's fucking huge, roided out, veins popping all over his fucking face and hands. Of course, that doesn't scream healthy at all. But like, you know, a strong, buff man, like, you're gonna tell me that you're not attracted to that? You have to have been brainwashed if you're somebody that's attracted to men. It just doesn't make sense to me. Mishka says, I am a wafy skinny is considered more attractive because it looks underage. It's easy to be scrawny when you're 13. Well, that is certainly true. I definitely think some of these societal expectations are rooted in some kind of pedophilic tendencies, absolutely. I really don't know exactly what it is. And it seems to be random and changing. I mean, the past few years, it's been all about, like, exaggerated proportions. Giant titty implants. Giant ass, you know. Using plastic surgery to achieve this. Now, all of a sudden, it feels like skinny is in again. But, like Cammie just said, thickness is in now, though. I do think, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I just pay less attention to what's in right now, but it does seem like there is an uptick in, like, women who just seem to have like normal athletic builds, which is wonderful. It seems like fitness is in and being natural, quote unquote, is in. So that seems to be good news for all of us. Cupcake holes. Why do I find that username so funny? Why are you called cupcake holes? It's like, is that sexual? Cupcake holes says dad bod is a psyop. I agree. Oh, but I didn't get into the meat of what we were arguing about. We were arguing about in Phenomenology Club yesterday, as it relates to gym bros, how not only is dad bod a psyop, and women are actively encouraged to reject the male form, the male athletic form. We were talking about why this is or how this works, and one of the ways is that I think, and I've always been subjected to this since I was young. There is like a cultural talking point that men who work out, men who lift weights, are some kind of like self-absorbed narcissists and also mean guys. Like, I have been, press 1 if you can relate to like being exposed to this cultural talking point since you were a small child, because I was always kind of I don't want to say taught this, but this was always kind of my impression just from like existing in culture, that guys who lift are like scary maybe and could be mean and like full of themselves, vain, you know. And I have heard a lot of men who look nothing like these bodybuilders, of course, express that, these guys are mean, these guys are assholes, and these guys are stupid. It's basically they're understood to be himbos, men who go to the gym too much, just like we talk about women who spend too much time, quote unquote, on their physical appearance with makeup or clothing, fashion, whatever. There's people degrade these women. People similarly degrade men who spend so much time on their appearance at the gym. Now, I would argue that there's something fundamentally different about these two groups of people. First of all, neither of them should be mocked or belittled, specifically because both groups of people obviously are responding to some kind of social pressure at worst, especially women. No woman has ever woken up and put 5 pounds of makeup on her face because she just felt like it. No. Conversely, however, men who go to the gym, I would argue, aren't necessarily doing so because of some great sense of insecurity or vanity or what have you. But going to the gym has some type of actual health benefit, There's no health benefit to putting 5 pounds of makeup on your face. Going to the gym, however, there are many health benefits for this. So, first of all, these two things are not comparable, even though they're often compared. But, yeah, I've heard a lot of men express that men who go to the gym are stupid and vain and narcissistic, and this has always been my impression. Then when I became older, and about a year and like 2 months ago, joined the gym myself to become a power lifter, because I'm in my powerlifting era. Can I get an amen? I was shocked to learn that some of the dudes who are lifting the heaviest with the biggest fucking muscles are like the nicest guys in the gym. And actually, it's like these freaky little scrawny incels that are sitting in the corner being all weird and creepy. They're the ones who are scary. And we talked about this as well, like how many, what should we call them for the sake of this conversation? Himbos? Chads? We'll call them Chads because we want to celebrate them. How many Chads have been school shooters? Have any Chads been school shooters? I'm sure there's been a few, but when you look at like the school shooter phenotype, it's not Chads. And when you look at like the kind of guy that I would say is more likely to participate in behaviors like violence against women, because this is one of the talking points when we were talking about gym bros yesterday and whether or not they're kind. Sorry, I'm all over the place. Whatever, I have COVID. I can do what I want. Well, I don't have COVID anymore, sorry. But, like when I think about my own personal experience with what kind of people have been the cruelest to me and what kind of men have been the cruelest to me and which have been the kindest to me, I have to say it's typically like the healthier males that, exercise discipline and self-control and do things like go to the gym and eat healthy that have been the kindest to me, versus all of the ones that I've experienced the worst treatment from have been guys with like dad bods or are dad bod adjacent. Sam says, and this is a good point and something that we were talking about yesterday. Sam says, I feel like in high school, like buff muscular guys were like scary, but I think it was rooted in insecurity, speaking for myself mostly. Well, this is one of the things that we had a fight about yesterday. Not a fight, but one of the arguments against what I was saying, which, again, sorry, I'm all over the place, but what I was saying is that gym bros actually tend to be kinder men than dad bod men, in my experience. And a lot of people said, like, unless you have the experience of being treated poorly by gym bros, like, you don't have a say here. And a lot of people explained that in high school, they received very poor treatment from these gym bros. And I think that in high school, the thing is, I feel like in high school, it is true, the more of a gym bro you were, you're probably, more likely to be a jock. You're probably more likely to be popular. And the more popular you are in high school, the more opportunity you have to exhibit cruelty over your fellow students. So I don't think it's that the gym bros are necessarily more mean than the scrawny guys or the incels, but I think it's that they just had less of an opportunity to be cruel. Popular kids, no matter what their body type, I would argue, often end up being cruel. Not all of them, but you can have any type of body type be popular and be cruel. Of course, more popular kids in high school are the ones that like are athletes. That's a common experience, isn't it? I mean, that was true in my high school. So it makes sense that people experience the most bullying at the hands of people like gym bros because they're the ones with the most social capital in a venue like high school. Cupcake holes. No, not sexual at all. It popped in my head when making an account when I was 16. I thought it was funny too. It is funny, but it sounds fetishy. I'm sorry. But I love it. Don't change it. Cupcake hole says, yeah, for sure. But I really think it's pushed so males can get a pass even though they already put zero effort at all in their appearances. Mime Ranger says, I believe ads ought to be built by physical work, not weightlifting. To me, gym bros are simps. See, this is what I'm talking about. Not talking out of spite as an extreme himbo. I have several gym bros. Just being real. Okay. Mime Ranger, do you have abs? Are you a Chad? See, we have somebody in the chat exhibiting this very attitude that I'm critical of. Gym bros are simps? Okay, so what kind of physical work, Mind Ranger, do you suggest that people, not just gym bros, because I too am somebody who am trying to build abs, how do you suggest those of us who want to build abs go about building abs, if not in the gym? What kind of physical labor should we become involved in that we can build abs? Because in my experience, you can't really build abs at home. You can try, but good fucking luck. I actually, during COVID, I tried to get into into body weight exercises at home because I'd never really worked out ever, and I wanted to try to get into shape. So I did a bunch of Jillian Michaels DVDs. Shout out the Shred series and everybody who did it with me. And, I would work on things like push-ups at home. I had never been able to do a push-up in my life. Or maybe as a small child, I don't know. And during COVID, I started practicing my push-ups and my planks, and I still could not do a push-up a year into it. I would try at home, and I just was getting nowhere using my own body weight. Then I joined the gym, and within 3 months now, well, I don't know when I started, but now I can do 25 push-ups. Easy. And I wasn't even practicing push-ups anymore. I was just going to the gym and picking up heavy weight. I also can do a chin-up now for the first time in my life. And I wasn't even practicing chin-ups. I was just lifting heavy weights at the gym. Sure, it's possible using calisthenics and bodyweight exercises to build strength at home, but if you want to build strength relatively quickly and in a way that actually is like impactful and meaningful, you really do have to go lift heavy weight. I used to always scoff at everybody who said this to me because I'm like, no, I'll do it at home. I'll do body exercises. And it's like, no, it's just not the way. If you really want to be able to like build abs or pick up heavy weight or even do push-ups, like the way to really do that is just to go fucking lift weights. You have to lift heavy weight. I mean, how many opportunities do you have in your day-to-day life to like pick up fucking 156 pounds 10 times in a row? You know, it's just what happens. Kimmy says acrobatics. Yes, you could build abs at home, sit-ups, push-ups, anything using the core. I disagree, Kimmy. My Ranger said, I did some workout under the effects of puberty, but I'm quite athletic by default, and maybe that stabilized it. But I'd say the same if I wasn't. If you do only mental work, you will be meek. Everybody should do both physical and mental work. Well, while I agree, what kind of mental work or what kind of physical work are we talking about here, Mind Ranger? Are we talking about like pushing a fucking plow? Like, give me one example of a physical task that we should be performing in order to do something. Let's say our goal is to build impressive musculature or abs. PK says, plenty opportunity at work, but I'm lucky enough to have a physical job. What's your job, PK, if you don't mind us doxing you? I think my Ranger... my Ranger says yes. What, to pushing a plow? Should we all... Look, you live in like Eastern Europe or something, okay? We don't have plows over here. We can't till the earth over here. Plow working and philosophy. Look, I'm keeping my gym membership and I will go in there and lift heavy metal weights. It is interesting though. I mean, there is definitely... There's like philosophical questions around weightlifting that I find really interesting. Actually, the introduction to a book that club member Alice introduced me to when I joined the gym. It's about barbell strength training, written by Mark Rippetoe, I believe his name is. And he has this whole introduction about why barbell training, this isn't quite the same topic, but related, about how barbell training is more quote unquote natural than using a machine, because the barbell, in his opinion, mimics something like what early humans have always been doing, like carrying a large tree or a large log, for example, versus working out an isolated small muscle, which is something that humans never had any sort of opportunity to do in nature. And for those of you who don't know, the barbell is the long bar that you put weights on either side of. So for things like deadlifts and squats and overhead press and bench press, these are all barbell exercises, as opposed to using a machine, which is, you might be able to work out like a tiny muscle. I don't know. What's a machine that people use at the gym? Where's Zensei? He would be able to get into this with us. Quote unquote natural. Yeah, but there's all these types of philosophical arguments about it. Also, in reading Industrial Society and Its Future by Ted Kaczynski, I seem to remember there's this whole part also about weight training. I mean, maybe not weight training specifically, but about working out in gyms and how humans, essentially having lost our connection to what he calls the power process and being able to do things like build physical strength in our bodies via real world activities like building houses and hunting and collecting water and whatever. Now we have to kind of create this like abstract universe where we can just be go on machines and run on machines like we're going nowhere. Like the treadmill is such a strange, kind of sad invention. Like we're basically like simulating the act of running through nature, but we have nowhere to run. And so we're just running in this like infinite loop going nowhere. How sad. So Ted Kaczynski is also anti-gym. So Mind Ranger, you definitely have my sympathies in some regard, but at this point I'm kind of a gym bro myself. I don't think I can I don't think I can stop this surrogate activity. PK says, I do machining, sign making, routing, lab, table, and furniture pieces. Oh, let's fucking go. Well, that definitely is physical labor. You getting abs over there, PK? Fat Q says, weightlifting is physical work. Can't believe we all just let that go by without saying it. But I suppose we don't want to get bogged down into what defines work, if work has to be productive. Quote, quote, quote. I mean, ... Then weightlifting is productive. I am producing results, increasing my health and overall productivity. Ted can look away. We're getting strong. Mind Ranger, what say you to that? What is the definition of work, real work, Mind Ranger, that you think people in the gym are not accomplishing? Is it about producing real world results outside of your own bodily existence? That is an interesting question. What is work? Should we ask the internet? Work. What is work? This is the verb. Let's look at the noun. Excuse me. Okay. Of course, very nebulous. Oh, you joined at a great time, Zensei, because we're discussing something you might be interested in. Right now, we're wondering into the question of what is work, because Mind Ranger says that gym bros, as we were just talking about gym bros ought to build abs not in the gym, but through real work. And S has just responded saying weightlifting is real work that produces results. Or if it isn't real work, then we have to define what work is. So we're looking right now at the definition of work. What is work? Work. Activity in which one exerts strength or faculties to do or perform something. Well, that's quite open-ended, which I appreciate. I mean, all definitions are really nebulous, right? So we might as well own that instead of trying to create hyper-specific definitions where the words become unusable. There's a few definitions. Let's read another one. A specific task, duty, function, or assignment, often being a part or phase of some larger activity. Okay. One's place of employment. Okay, so that's when we say something like, I'm going to work. Can't talk right now. Going to work. Something produced or accomplished by effort, exertion, or exercise of skill. Okay, so this is the definition when you are referring to something you've created as your work, which is the common use of the word work in like an artistic sense. For example, I'm talking about my work. Am I coming in okay? I'm getting error messages from YouTube. Mind Ranger, I want to know what you would say to S as far as what real work would be and whether or not weightlifting is real work. I mean, I do have to say, it does feel wasteful, I will say. It feels wasteful that we live in a world where strength is built in the gym instead of on the fields. Because it's almost like, why put so much effort into something that has no real world results except for your bodily strength when it could? Obviously I'm not against going to the gym. I'm a gym bro myself, but I can understand why certain people might see it as a waste. Similar to when I observe like gamers and I see what they're doing as a waste. Like, you are using all of this mental energy and time to sit around playing a video game on your computer or a console when you could be using this mental energy even on a computer to do something like learn 3D software, learn computer programming, learn like anything related to video games where you could potentially like benefit yourself and enrich yourself and your life by learning a new skill instead of learning how to be really good at Baldur's Gate 3, which is something I'm currently doing. Watch out. You know what I mean, though? I can see why people might see the gym as wasteful. But increasingly, we live in a world where there's not many alternatives, is there? What am I going to do? Go build a fucking house? I would love to, but I don't own property to build a house on, so... PK said, I've heard the argument that it's good to maintain physical fitness in case of emergency life or death situation. Free 99 says, I find that's a good point, and it's good for you before that emergency point anyway. Absolutely. And I don't think Mind Ranger is against the idea of building physical fitness or strength. Mind Ranger seems to be against the idea of doing that in the gym. And I assume the reason Mind Ranger sees it that way is kind of similar to what I was just saying, which is that it does feel a bit wasteful. Running over an infinite loop on the treadmill does feel like a waste when you could run over the actual earth and observe it more and enrich yourself in the process. So I understand that. But when it comes to something like being able to lift 300 pounds or something, that's something that I think is going to be quite difficult to do without using gym equipment. I mean, I'm speaking as a 5'2" female too. So, you know, shit. I feel like it's even harder for me to build muscle. Or harder for women to build muscle in general, you know. I want to be like super fucking jacked. How am I going to do that, Mind Ranger? By doing laundry? By doing dishes? I gotta go pick up weights. Fat Q says, I could understand the mindset that it is a waste, but we can't control that in a lot of ways. I can't afford a farm to go till the land, but I can build muscle that will allow me health and longevity. Mind Ranger says, sometimes surrogate activity is justified, like when astronauts exercise to not break by gravity when they return. In lack of physical work, you can work out if there's prospect for needing it in near future. Again, Mind Ranger, I'm asking for one example of a physical activity that would build muscle in the way that lifting weights in the gym would build muscle. Or is our one example plowing? And I mean, is plowing even really a suitable replacement for the gym? What muscles does plowing work out? Let's look it up. Like, and in this hypothetical plowing situation, are you pulling the plow like an ox? Let's see if Google... Actually, let's ask ChatGPT. Because, Google has been lying to us recently. And ChatGPT would never, ever lie to me. Can I get an amen? Okay. ChatGPT, if someone were to work out using a plow and till the earth, what muscle groups would they be primarily building? Okay. So ChatGPT says some of the targeted muscle groups would be primarily your core. Okay, that's good for Mind Ranger, who says we could build abs by plowing the earth. Leg muscles, of course, back muscles, shoulder and arm, and your cardiovascular system. Let's ask, would plowing as exercise? No. Would you be able to build the same kind of strength plowing as you could powerlifting? While both activities may contribute to overall strength, powerlifting may be more targeted towards maximal strength development in specific muscle groups, while plowing may provide a broader functional strength with an endurance component. Ooh. ChatGPT said, fuck you, Mind Ranger. That was funny. PK said, I'd rather waste effort never needing to do a pull-up for most of my life until the day I'm holding myself up from a fire below. Fat Q says, and in this way, it is not wasteful as it allows me to do further activities and other types of work. Zensei says, you're producing energy and exerting it in the gym while giving people money to do it. Gym employees and owners, in the long run, going to the gym is the optimal way to become better at labor. Well, that's true. Progressively overloading in a safe way with machines optimized to help you keep tension on muscles in the right place without compromising the integrity of other muscles you don't want to use. My Ranger says, my suggestion is for everyone to do community work even if they're billionaires or politicians. Build bridges, lay asphalt, clean hospitals, carry old people, lift packages, etc., etc. Well, I would absolutely agree, my Ranger, that would be a beautiful world in which we all contributed physically to our environment around us in ways that built strength. I would still argue the gym would be a great aid in supplementing our ability to do this. Especially, I couldn't do a push-up for most of my life, like I just shared, or a chin-up. I couldn't just all of a sudden pick up some 300-pound person who needs assistance. You know what I'm saying? Shit. You gotta work your way up. It still helps. And like the others are saying, going to the gym actually makes real-world productivity, or it increases your real-world productivity. Actually, something I've noticed, as somebody who, this is so embarrassing to admit, but whatever, I'll say it. I used to literally get tired sometimes putting my hair in a ponytail. That's how out of shape I was. And mind you, I was also a drug addict, okay? And I was constantly starving myself on accident, okay? So, but it's true. Too tired, exhausted from putting my hair in a ponytail. I don't even know where I was going with this shit. Oh yeah, now I've noticed that even something like groceries, laundry, so much easier. Oh my God. I can, or I live as a single woman in the woods by myself. Putting my air conditioning in, taking it in and out, it's like nothing now. I used to need assistance. What the fuck was that? Oh, my file transfer must be done. I used to need assistance, doing something like installing an air conditioner, or even bringing laundry into my car. Groceries, I'd constantly have to make multiple trips. Now it's it ain't no thing. I'm so much stronger now. Now I feel confident if my car broke down in the middle of the road, I could push it out of the way myself. Things like this. So the gym, I would argue, is productive in this way too. It does enable you to take care of tasks in much easier ways. Thank you, PK. Thank you. PK said, good job, Buttress. You're a capable human. Period. My Ranger says it should be illegal to practice only physical or mental activity. Perhaps we'll do that when we create our pure and perfect society, New Jersey. You have to do both. It's absolutely, I would definitely say Mind Ranger. I think this is the spirit of what you're saying, and I think I would agree. It is very sad what kind of a world we live in where physical activity is increasingly going out the window, and the only way to really engage in physical activity seems to be in these strange, automated, simulated environments where we're doing depressing surrogate activities like running on a treadmill or, interacting with some cold, lifeless machine over and over. It's very sad. It's very aesthetically displeasing for many reasons. But I've come to appreciate and enjoy the gym. And when I go, I pretend I'm some ancient Spartan or something. Spartans were at the gym. Shit. They were picking up heavy shit. Shit. Why can't I? Fak Hugh says, this is going to be meta. One thing I do enjoy about you not having a second person to riff with is that your reading these comments sometimes comes off as so funny sometimes. Why is it funny? Maybe what I should do is get AI to read your comments so we pretend that we're talking to people. I am talking to people, but you know what I mean, talking verbally with somebody. Cammy says, maybe I'll have quicker ab results if I go back to picking up heavy shit. I have to say, Cammy, you probably will, because that's another thing. I've never been able to create any sort of ab definition in my life until I went to the gym. and I don't even do ab exercises. I developed core muscles, I would say almost primarily, it feels like, from squatting, because I really feel squatting in my core. And yeah, now when I get to a certain body percentage, I actually have some ab definition for the first time in my life. Literally, lifting heavy shit has revolutionized my body in ways I never could have anticipated. And I feel stupid for insisting for so long that I could build the same kind of strength at home that I could in the gym. It's just not even feasible. Perhaps it is, but the amount of consistency and dedication required to be able to build the same kind of strength at home as you can in the gym, I mean, it's just incredible. What? Fat Q says, it's like you're talking to the voices in your head. LMFAO. Wow. And you're the one doing this to me. That's fucked up. PK said, you do be cracking us up solo. Imagine somebody discovers that actually none of you are here, and every podcast episode is just me making up people to talk to and pretending that they're leaving me comments. I have an activity I participate in that might be kind of narcissistic, but I'll admit it to you guys while we're on the topic. Maybe some of you do this too. Do you ever pretend you're being interviewed and give your interview answers? I mean, I'm somewhat of a micro celebrity myself, so me preparing my hypothetical interview answers really is not that far-fetched from my reality, because I have done interviews, not to brag. So, really, it's not that odd. But it is actually a really fun way to articulate ideas, I think. I used to do it like crazy when I was on fucking drugs. I mean, I would compose verbal essays, and as soon as I would make a mistake in a sentence, I would start over, which I think really was good for my verbal communication skills in many ways, but now I don't have the energy to do that kind of a thing. Now I just kind of do it in this hypothetical question and answer format, which is much lazier than composing an entire verbal essay and starting over every time I make a grammatical? What a word to not be able to know. What a word to mess up. Is it grammatical or grammatic? Every time I made a grammatical error, I would start over from scratch. I can't be doing all that anymore. I'm too tired and I'm old. All right, we're about to get out of here, but I'll read a few more comments. Now I'm self-conscious about reading comments out loud because, as said, it makes me sound like a crazy person. The goal is to be healthier, not produce for someone else. But either way, you are contributing to society by paying to go to the gym and ultimately becoming stronger. I mean, I think it's neither here nor there. Like, there's something to be said about the idea that physical strength, historically, is built by doing things in the real world. It does feel kind of dystopian that now, in order to create physical strength and muscularity, pretty much the only venue you have to do that is the gym, which is just this simulated environment where you have to use machines and other strange technologies to build muscularity. Whereas in the past, you know, I think a lot of people probably built muscularity just from living in the world. Then again, if I'm not mistaken, I believe I saw some kind of study that was speculating into what early humans' bodies looked like, and they actually all looked kind of skinny fat. Is this a false memory? I swear I looked this up. I mean, if you look at the body types of people who live in like tribal societies still and don't have access to things like gyms and do a lot of hunting and gathering and physical labor, they're not all fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's like modern society has actually made it so that it's like we've like created this new standard of muscularity actually that probably previously didn't exist in the world. Then again, I mean, there's always been like super fucking brolic dudes too. I mean, weren't Spartans fucking jacked? And I mean, I've seen like videos of like I don't know, fucking weird, like, Vikings, or people from, like, people from Nordic countries or whatever doing, like, weird Viking shit, and they have all these, like, strong men. There's no way that, especially when warfare was the way of, like, life for old peoples on the globe, however many centuries ago, not many centuries ago, there's no way that you didn't have men in every society picking up heavy shit specifically to grow strength, you know? So even then, someone like Mind Ranger might pop up and call these guys simps, like he just called Jim Bro simps. Would you say building muscularity for the purpose of being a super soldier is productive, Mind Ranger? Is it more productive than building muscularity for the sake of being a god among men in the 21st century? I feel like that's an interesting question. Anyway, it's been exactly 1 hour. This was all over the place, but it was fun. It's going to be all over the place for a bit. I'm sorry. But again, I'm in my productive era. I'm back to buttress. I have stuff to do. And also, I'm working towards making the Phenomenology Club video series, the mini-series, the narrative mini-series. So, I'm not trying to hear any complaints. Period. I'm going to be here every other week. We're going to shoot the shit like we have been doing. And I'm going to keep working on my shit. And you all better be working on your shit too, because I know most of you are artists. Press 1 if you've been working on your shit. If you haven't been working on your shit, I'm going to hold you accountable and I'm going to call you out every fucking 2 weeks. So I hope everybody's being productive out there. It's 2024. We need to at least start off strong. You can lose steam later in the year if you want. But for right now, we are devoted to the project of productivity. Can I get an amen? Nice. PK says 1. Free 99 says 1. Let's fucking go, everybody. We're going to be productive this year. We're productive. We're white-pilled. We're going to the gym. Let's go, Mind Ranger. Let's go. I know you're probably working on something crazy interesting, as always. Sensei, working on anything? Cammy? I know Cammy's working. She's always working. Cammy says, we are strong and resilient. That's fucking right. We're a bunch of chads. We don't have dad bod. We have Chad bod, period. Let's go. Sensei said 1. Let's go. But he's not white-pilled because he doesn't take pills. All right, I'm proud of everybody. Keep the productivity high. Go share what you're working on in Phenomenology Club, because a lot of us are artists. A lot of us are gym goers. A lot of us are trying to be productive and always need accountability buddies. So it's important to hold yourself and your friends accountable and also be members of a productive community where we share common goals. And many of us do share common goals in Phenomenology Club. If you're not in the Discord, hop in. If not, just keep coming to these streams and I'll try to hold you accountable from afar. Anyway, everybody, love you so much. Stay healthy, please. There's diseases going around. Stay warm. Stay productive. And most importantly, stay trippy. Phenomenology Club is signing off. Good night. And give the video a thumbs up, please. Thank you.